We have these relationships with our bodies. We have a lot of thoughts about them. We've often really been affected by other people's opinions of our body as well. And that might have been part of what was coming in. And in particular, the inquiry today is around our own internal organs, our own internal functioning of our body, and to become aware of what thoughts and what associations we might have in our body. So notice where your attention goes. Oftentimes, there's a tightness or contraction in different parts of the body. Part of that is just a habit that we bring in. The same with the breath. We also have a habit of breathing more shallow, or we're holding our breath. So let's look on an overall basis first. Relax all of the large muscle groups, the arms and the legs, the shoulders, the back, chest, the stomach. So we're just aware of our whole body from head to toes. And in particular, we're looking at tightness in the body, noticing that. And as we notice it, see if it softens. It often does. And how the body feels as it's moving with the breath. And notice the muscles of the forehead and the eyebrows, your eyes. And notice your jaw and your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords, hinges of your jaw. And the head, the neck, and the shoulders as kind of a unit. And then bring to mind whatever visuals you might have that just come up naturally when you're thinking about the internal landscape in the head. So we have our eyeballs, we have the optic nerve, the blood supply to the eyes, we have our brains. Most of us have seen images of these. We have the brain stem and the neck, the vertebra of the neck, muscles that cover the bones, fascia, the tissues, the blood supplies, the tongue, our teeth, our sinuses above that. We're not really looking for anything in particular. We're just looking, putting our attention here and see what happens. We can feel the air as it's flowing into the body and out of the body. And in addition to the sense perception of that, we can also maybe visualize the membranes of the nose, the cilia, the anatomy of the nose, the bones in the nose, the cartilage. And part of what might come up is thoughts about our body, our head and neck in particular right now. We might feel like our nose is too big, or we're losing our eyesight and we're scared about that, or we're wondering if our brain is very healthy. So there could be fears that come up. Continue to allow your face to soften. And notice if it's easy for you to pay attention to the internal physical body. If it feels like it's more representational, like images, or if it feels like you can somehow just be present in that space. And notice that we move our bodies. If you move your lower jaw or your tongue, we have all of these sense perceptions that allow us to notice that, what it feels like. And one really wonderful thing we're all doing for our brains is we're doing these practices. It's very calming for the brain. Stress is very hard on the brain. And we might imagine the blood flow going into the brain and out of the brain. Maybe the whole circulatory system coming down the throat into the heart, the lungs as well. What might your lungs look like? What's going on in there that we can't really feel in a sensation so much? We can feel the movement of our rib cage as we breathe in, it expands. We know from science and health classes that we're bringing in new oxygen. It goes to all of the little bronchi of the lungs, goes into the bloodstream, goes to the heart. It pumps through the heart. The heart pumps blood through the whole body. Including up to the brain. And then it takes away, and all of the old stale air gets released out through the lungs, back out through the throat and the nose. Almost entirely, when we notice the body, we notice muscles and perhaps nerve pain. We might, if we're anxious especially, we sometimes feel the heartbeat. We can feel the movement of our body with our breath, and sometimes we'll focus on that. But what's actually going on inside? The lungs are expanding as the diaphragm muscle comes down, flattens. As the exhale starts, the diaphragm muscle balloons up. The lungs become smaller, the air leaves the lungs. The stomach comes back into place underneath the rib cage. So we're just noticing if there's any thoughts coming up, noticing the images. We're paying attention, this intimate witness from the inside. Just paying attention to what's going on in the chest, that area protected by the rib cage. And from the back of the mouth, food comes down through the throat, the esophagus, into the stomach area. Gets digested in the stomach and in the small intestine, the big intestine. Most of us have images of that. We certainly have feelings, sensations in there. One way that I think is a bit interesting at times is to look at it as if your stomach was a friend. Would your activities that you've put on your stomach, would they be friendly? Are you considering your stomach when you're eating, for instance? Are you chewing well enough? Are you eating too much? All of these organs in our bodies try so hard to do the right thing. That's what they're programmed to do. And what are we doing to kind of align ourselves with their better function or not? And to try to do that without judging yourself. We're not getting into a shaming here. We're just looking. If my stomach was a good friend, would I be acting that way? Sometimes I'll notice that my intestines feel inflamed, they're painful or sore. And I notice when I really tune in that it doesn't feel like they're mad at me, it just feels like they're inflamed. So, all these things that are happening in our body, we can really look to see, does it feel like there's some kind of a punishing relationship going on there? Or is it more neutral? Well, this is what's happening in my body, and there's a sense that my body's doing the best that it can under these conditions. And we know that there's probably food in our stomach, or at least in our intestines. We have an idea about how that works, the blood supply, the digestive process, the different fluids and acids and things that are part of that. The elimination of the wastes as water or solids. And just keep being aware of any thoughts that are coming up around it as you're doing this. And be aware of all of the muscles in the body. What's the state of health in your muscles? Do some of your muscles hurt? Do some of them feel kind of ineffectual, like they could use some more building up? Do you feel strong in your muscles? Do you feel like all of the tightness and the contraction in your muscles has created a bit of a logjam and nothing can really get through there. Of course, the different muscles in different parts of the body have a different experience too. If we walk a lot, our muscles in our legs will be stronger. If we swim, our muscles in our shoulders would be. We might have some fear around our muscles. And what about the bones? Our muscle that covers the bones themselves, the bones have blood flow in them. They have a certain structure. If you bring to mind your spine, for instance, you can kind of imagine what that looks like. And then the ribs are coming off of the upper spine, upper mid spine. We've got arms and legs and toes and feet. There's little bones all through our body. And what's the health of your bones? What comes to mind when you think about your bones? And then let all of that kind of settle. And notice what it feels like to really focus in on the muscles and bones and blood and organs of the body. Notice if there's a spirit of friendliness there. Not in the sense that the body is other, not like we'd be friends with somebody outside. Just notice what your relationship is with your body. Is there a sense of goodwill towards your body? Often, especially with trauma, we have a really deep resistance about our bodies. There's so much stored trauma, we don't really feel comfortable in our body, or we're trying to defend ourselves against stuff that's going on in our body, or we're disregarding our body for emotional comfort. And notice if there's anything that you want to look at more, or if this was kind of interesting and you might want to come back to it another time. We can always do a little scan like this just before we go to sleep or just as we're waking up, getting to know our internal system in this way. And then when you're ready, finish the practice and open your eyes.